in this case, is that really risky, or is it just dependent on the patient? There's been some controversy because people have said, well, it looks like the strip was taken all the way up to his temples. Um, so if you see that, like that strip line was taken all the way up to his temples, and people feel that for one, they feel that it's indicative of a certain clinic that usually goes up a little bit higher,
Okay.
um, and takes a strip up a little bit higher. But is there any complications with this? I personally feel like it's a case by case basis, because for me personally, I've experienced that my hair near my ears and my nape
Mm-hmm.
is weak hair
Yes.
that I don't want to get. But the
Right.
hair right here, this is my
Mm-hmm.
healthiest, most thick, most abundant hair.
Right.
Um,
Right.
this is like prime real estate in terms of like, hair follicles. So, what are your
Yeah.
views on that? Uh, Taking the strip
Well,
that high
I
up?
agree with what you just said, actually. For some people, this area, a little more higher up, actually, seems to be better, coarser hair that would probably do better with a transplant, And as we go lower, one of the risks of going lower sometimes is that if you cut your hair shorter, you might see that, if it's a strip, you might be able to see that more easily than you can actually in the areas where the hair is a little denser, coarser, of that nature. So, um, even for me, I think that in sometimes I will go a little higher in there because I can see that hair is just so much better hair, and
Yeah.
I of course try to make sure that I have enough hair above that if it should recede down, that it will protect that and cover that so it won't be exposed. But even people who thin and bald, you'll see that sometimes that the amount of hair that they've preserved actually goes quite high, right? I mean, that hair goes
Oh,
quite high
yeah.
in some people. And so for those people, I think that going into that area to get good donor hair makes sense. I think that there's an argument for that. Now coming up too, like very far anteriorly, well, that's risky though, right? Because then it risks being exposed. Although these
Mhm.
days, I guess with FUE, I guess we could always go back and try to fill in on any areas that might have the potential for being exposed. So we do at least have another tool that we could go back and actually do something about it to kind of camouflage that.
So here we have the balding area, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk, he had the strip pretty much taken from like there, right? If we go back,
Right.
we see that it's virtually taken from there. So it reaches the sort of the tip of his lateral humps, maybe going
Mm-hmm.
towards the temporal area, like you mentioned. Um,
Mm.
so I mean, in this case, is that really risky, or is it just dependent on the patient?
I think it depends on the patient. I mean, you take everything into account. The family history, kind of their current level of hair loss, examination of their scalp in detail to see where their strong hair is. Now, we can't always guess, how far it will progress, which is true, right? You can never. None of us have a crystal ball. We can't see 100%. But with enough experience, I mean, you can look at that area and have at least an educated guess as to where the good hair is.
Mhm.
Having said that, I mean, sometimes I won't take the chance, and I'll keep it a little lower, depending on the patient. But it is kind of patient dependent sometimes.